Hey everybody, welcome to More Mobile Yoga. We're going to go through some of the movements a lot of my clients have been working on to help you improve your hip capacity, building up into a deeper squat. Okay, and we know a deep squat can be a very challenging position. Specifically in yoga, we have the Malasana Squat, which is a well-known position, but definitely not easy to accomplish. So what we like to do in this video is recap some of the foundational movements and yoga postures that we've been practicing as part of the More Mobile Yoga curriculum, and use this as a reminder for my clients on how to approach this process to help them get into a better position to really have stronger hips, right? Squat is just a terminology to explain deep movement, right? Reality is you want to build the capacities of your joints to achieve the best possible outcome for mobility. So we're going to recap all the stuff we've been working on in classes, okay, and you can use this as an at-home learning tool to help you develop your practice. So here we are, right? Getting ready to start up. We want to get ourselves into a 90-90 position. And first of all, the 90-90 we know is in of itself a challenging position to maintain. So maybe you're trying to position yourself at what am I doing to set up, right? Well, first off, your front leg is entering an external hip rotation. And you want to have this knee driving into the ground. And you might have your hand on the side to help support you, especially if you're learning this position for the first time. This might be a challenge. So use your hand as a bit of a support vehicle to help keep it balanced. Over time, you'll be able to lift your hand up because you'll develop the stability in your hip to maintain this posture, okay? And on the backside leg, we're looking at an internal hip rotation, okay? So you're driving also this knee into the ground, and you want to create a nice stable foundation here going up into your hip. You want to activate your rear end, your gluteus maximus, to help enforce that extension to create a strong foundation here, okay? So as we get started, we take it easy, okay? You want to give yourself a chance to respond to these movements and improve on them as you practice, okay? So we like to start off by placing our hands out front and learning to walk our body mass over the top of the front side leg, okay? So we allow our body mass to sit over here and then walk ourselves back up, okay? Allow yourself to experience this weight distribution. Feel out where the challenging movements are and allow your body to have time to adapt. All right, run number 3. Maybe you're going a little bit lower with each rep, getting a little more depth into the position. On the 4th rep, we want to get down here and hold it for a good solid 10 seconds. Good. And then for our 5th rep, we're going to get down and we're going to hold this position for a solid 60 seconds to allow our body to adapt into the stretch position. So this can be tricky. You want to let your body sit over the top of this. Now maybe you can get your elbows to the floor, but if that's not available to you, you can just as well work with your hands on the floor. Maybe your fingertips are on the floor, but you want to have a position where your body mass is folding over this external hip rotation as you drive this knee into the ground. And you want to hold it for a good minute. So give yourself a chance to think deeply about how your stretch is being maintained. You're going to feel a lot of pressure driving into the T band, right? That is the external side of the hip, or the thigh, excuse me. You're going to feel a lot of stimulation on that side of your body as you drive this knee downward. Now your knee might want to be drifting upward. You want to conscientiously drive this knee downward into the ground. So we continue to maintain this stretch. It's good to maintain a deep stretch for a solid minute. It gives your tissue enough time to communicate with your brain to adapt to the pressure that's being created. Stretching for just a few seconds at a time typically isn't enough. You want to give yourself a deeper stretch. So give yourself time to really work through the posture. And this is the perfect video to help walk you through that. Okay? We're working our way through, feeling this deep stretch. And once you get up to that minute time, right, you can start to walk yourself back up. And then we can add on to the intensity. Okay? So you walk yourself down to your position, and you can take your hands and put them behind your back, and then lift yourself up. It's number 6. Okay, and as you're lifting yourself up, you're making sure to drive that knee downward into the ground. Okay, you want to create space, right? You want to control this gap, right? So you can widen that angle as you get better at the posture. So we drop down low. Maybe your head touches the floor. Number 7. Number 8. 9. And 10. Okay. Now, if that's not in your availability, work with what you got. Try pushing yourself back up. Right? You don't have to do things perfectly. You have to find the best method to adapt your body and then give yourself enough time to train up to improve your capacity. You'll just keep getting better. Now, we work into some manual adjustments here. We take our hand, we put it underneath our ankle, and we start to use our passive range of motion to get 10 reps here. 4, 5, lift this leg up. 6, 7, try to get the ankle over the top, right? You want to try to get the ankle at least as high as the knee since you're using your arm to help pull it up. 9, 10, okay? And now that you get a feel for that external hip rotation, you try taking your hands and placing them firmly on the ground. One hand's in between the legs, the other hand's on the outside of the outer leg. And then you breathe in. Exhale and lift this leg up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. So what's happening here is you're creating an external hip rotation as you raise this leg off the floor. And you want to strive to bring the ankle up to the same level as the knee. Now I realize that might not be in everyone's toolbox today, and that's okay. If you can just get your knee off the floor like this and that's where you're at, start there. Maybe you can start to lift the leg slightly off the floor, but the knee is demonstrably higher than the ankle. That's where you're at, that's okay. But the point is, you got to put the concentrated effort in to make these reps work for you, okay? So let's get back to it. Inhale, exhale and lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. That was a 10-second hold. If 10-second holds work for you, great. If 20-second holds work for you, great. If 5-second holds work for you, great. But pick a number and stay consistent so you can grow. Okay? So breathe in. Exhale and lift. Try to maintain your breath as you lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. Inhale. Exhale and lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. Breathe in. Exhale and lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Take as much time as you need to work on this, okay? You can set this up for 10 reps, 20 reps, 5 reps. The point is make it a part of your program, okay? You have to give yourself enough time to grow with these positions. If you're starting off small, perfect, because you have plenty of room to grow. So keep up the great work. All right, now we're gonna work on our backside leg, okay, which is entering an internal hip rotation. So we wanna make sure that we're really controlling this posture. Now, the first and foremost is that you want to create extension in this hip. And if you're creating extension, you're driving down with this knee, and you're going to tap into a lot of the interior of the leg, right? That inner thigh region. It's really important to activate these muscles as we drive downward. Good. And you take your hand and you reach back this leg, and you work on just giving it a little bit of passive range of motion prep, right? It's good to do this to warm up, to feel where your range is. Maybe your range is Perfect. Maybe you have a very high range. Maybe your range is a little bit lower where you start off. It's okay. It's not about where you start, it's where you finish long term. So give yourself a chance to warm up by using this passive range of motion to test out your internal hip rotation. And as you're working on this, make sure you're consciously driving that knee down here. You're driving that knee into the ground. That's going to help develop a fulcrum from which you can work this rotation and isolate the hip. Okay, common mistake that you have is that we rely on leaning our torso forward to try to lift the leg up more. You want to avoid that. You want to keep your abdominal wall engaged and strong, driving this knee downward. That way you can isolate the rotation. Okay, and I'm leaning on my hand here. I'm using my hand to really position myself with strength so that way it's stable and I can isolate this movement. Good. So now once you're warmed up, all right, we're going to do some lift-offs and holds. Okay, so the way this works is you breathe in, get this positioned up, bring it up to as high as you can. Inhale, exhale, and release. And it's going to be tough. You got to hold this leg up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. You're going to feel that tension fire up high up in the hip here. Got to work through that. Okay. So you bring it up, drive that knee into the ground, get that positioning, feel that pressure as you drive down. Inhale, exhale, release that hand. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. Feel that range. Inch by inch, it's going to get stronger. Okay, breathing in. Grab the back side of the leg, lift it up, and release. 10, 9, 8, 7, driving down that knee. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. So you're going to want to get probably about 10 reps on that internal hip rotation. So give yourself some time to work through that progression and learn how to master that movement. Okay, good. So we'll switch legs up, right? You always got to remember you got two sides of the hip here, right? The pelvis is an amazing system because it has to dynamically work with two opposing hips that might be going in opposite directions. In this case, your front leg is entering an external hip rotation, and your back leg is entering an internal hip rotation. So there's a lot of activity happening in this posture, and you might notice that one side feels different than the other. I know in my case, I'm a little more stiff in my mobility when I set up this way, so I have to work extra hard to perfect my form. Okay, so take the time to self-reflect and figure out what's working right, what's working not so great, and identify those weak points, and then use these simple movements to help improve where you're having difficulty. All right. See, I'm teaching you all this information, but it's up to you to apply it based on your unique body type, your unique needs. I'm giving you the tools from which you can run diagnostic, figure out what's working, what's not, and then ultimately increase your ability based on a patient timeline. Okay, so let's keep up the good work, right? We want to make sure our position is sound. Okay, we got our right side leg, this is the front knee, driving into the floor. The back side leg driving into the floor. Activate your booty muscles in order to increase that extension on the hip, giving you more stability in the total posture. And when you're ready, you take your hands and you start to gently walk them out. The first few reps might be a little rough, so you want to practice just folding yourself over and then picking yourself back up. Good, you can use your fingertips, then they turn to hands, then they turn to elbows, then maybe your head touches the floor, maybe not, it's okay. Find your range, right? Your range might be up here, and that's where you are, that's great. Find that range and work on improving it over time. You should be able to get better if you just keep practicing. So here we are in our third rep. Maybe you get a little bit lower, get the elbows to the ground, feel yourself fold over. And as you're doing that, you're driving that front side knee down into the ground and then walking yourself back up. Good. Number 4, we're going to hold it for 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pick yourself back up. And then we're going to go for that deep stretch. Okay, breathing in. Exhale and drop down. So when you're in this deep stretch, it's a great time for you to relax and breathe. All right, when you're in a deep stretch like this, you can't really rush it. Right? You have to allow your body to adapt to the circumstances you're placing it in. And you're fully capable of doing that. You just have to give your body time to communicate with itself. There's a greater conversation happening between your joints and your brain. It's going through the central nervous system. So CNS activity is happening at like lightning speed, right? The sensors going back and forth from the brain to the tissue. But when you sit in a posture for an extended period of time, it's like an extended conversation between the tissue you're moving and flexing and stretching and the brain, which is interpreting all these signals and ultimately sends adaptive signals to these tissues in order to help them grow in the direction you want them to. So in this way, you're harnessing a creative power, a force of nature really, that helps you to change your body from the inside out. It's amazing stuff. So I highly encourage you to relax and enjoy the process of stretching, flexing, and improving your mobility. It's simple, it's not easy, but you do improve as you practice. So, been digging in deep here, feeling that deep stretch. The side of your leg here is going to be feeling a lot of pressure. Your body mass is sitting over the top of the leg. Okay, you want to make sure you have the knee driving into the floor. And then probably about a minute now, so we can go ahead and pick ourselves up. Okay, good. And now you're feeling very stretched. Feel a little bit of relief. Maybe put your hand on the ground. A little bit of relaxation. We got to get right back into it, folks. So now maybe take our hands behind our back. Drop down low. Maybe you can do this. Maybe you can't. It's okay. It's something to strive for, something to build up on. 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. Good stuff. All right. Now we get into some manual movements. Okay. We're going to get into some passive range of motion. And we just did this on the opposite side. So we want to make sure we balance ourselves out. Do this by lifting this leg up by the ankle to accentuate this external hip rotation. It's a little bit easier to do this when you have a little help from your hand, right? And 10, so you get a good 10 reps in there, and you're preparing yourself to handle the challenge of working on your active range of motion, right? Your passive range of motion is where you go when an outside force moves it, but your active range of motion is what your body can do without any assistance or outside force, okay? So that's what we're going to practice right now, your active range. So get ready, breathe in. You put your hands on the floor, you're pushing downward so you can create some balance with your hands here. Inhale. Exhale, lift the leg up. Try to get that ankle as high as the knee. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Breathing. Controlling. Working on that active range of motion. Inhale. Exhale and lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. Get comfortably uncomfortable. Really accentuate that external hip rotation. Get ready. Inhale. Exhale and lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Good. You're going to want to get about 10 total reps on this particular movement. Give yourself a chance to grow into it. Find a consistent count that you can work with. If it's 5 seconds, if it's 10 seconds, is it 15, 20 seconds? Whatever it is, pick a time, be consistent with it, and work on bringing this leg up so eventually the ankle can get even with the knee. Now, we know we're not perfect on everything we do, but we're always striving towards that goal. Good. All right, so now we're warmed up on this side. We want to make sure we're getting our backside leg working. All right, so Want to make sure our form is strong. Creating a 90-degree angle on the front knee, driving that knee down. 90-degree angle on the back leg, driving that leg down. Create a straight line from the knee going up into the hip. Use your hand to lean into the position a little bit. And then just try to grab this leg. Right? Sometimes you gotta help yourself, so you pull this leg in a little bit by contracting. Then maybe grab it by the ankle, and then maybe you lift it up. As you lift it up, you get a little bit of a better angle. Okay, now maybe it gets up higher. Maybe it's somewhere back here. That's okay. You want to make sure that you're creating enough extension in your body that you can reach and pull this up. 4, 5. Figure out where your range of motion is. 8. So maybe it's way up here, maybe it's down here, but what you want to avoid is leaning over, right? The problem that I see with a lot of folks is when they go into this posture, they start leaning forward to create greater range of motion. It's actually counterproductive, okay? You want to keep your form very strong by driving this knee into the ground, keeping a strong extension in the hip, and then using your hand to figure out what your range of motion really is. Okay, good. Breathing. Right, the air is so important. Your breath is sending energy right into the joints that you need to work on. Okay, so let's get it. Now we're going to work on our active range of motion. Take the leg, we pull it up into position, breathe in, and then let go and try to keep that leg high up there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. Now even there, I started leaning forward a little bit, right? Even I might make a mistake. It's no problem. People always need a little bit of help. So make sure our form is strong, reaching back, getting this leg in position, drive down that knee, breathing in, and release. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Drive that knee down. 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. You want to go for about 10 reps on that side. Okay? Now, is that a magic number? No. You need to pick out the right number of movements you need to perfect your process. But the point is that stay consistent. It's going to be 10 reps, 20 reps, whatever it's going to be. You want to work on positioning that leg so that you're consistently mastering your form. You're driving this knee down. You're fully activating this hip. You're creating your body straight so it's not leaning forward too much. Use this hand to help support you, and then boom, right? Find your max range of motion, and then let go of the hand and see how long you keep it up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. Good stuff. All right. Great work. We're going to take it to some standing postures next. All right, so the next step in our process was getting into some standing postures to help develop further capacity in our hip by utilizing some traditional yoga postures like Warrior 1 and Warrior 2. All right, these are 5,000-year-old yoga postures that are still very applicable to what we do today. All right, so we'll go ahead and get ourselves started. You're in a position with both feet wider than your shoulders, and you're going to prepare to maybe widen them out even further based on your size and your body type and your ability to complete the postures. So here we go. I'm going to take your left leg, this side in this case. We're going to turn this foot outward, okay, and put a slight bend into that knee. And then we're going to do Warrior 1. So your back leg, your foot is going to point towards the corner of the room at about a 45-degree angle. So front leg is pointed straight that way, back leg is pointed at an angle of about 45 degrees. You want to gently bend into that front knee and start to turn the hips forward facing. Your hips are going to be like headlights in a car. It's the best way to describe it. Both hip insertion points are going straight ahead. Now,
you want to pull your belly in this position. Okay, and as you do that, you're creating pressure that redistributes into your hip flexor to create balance in your standing posture. You're going to have some deep ankle flexion in the backside leg. You keep the knee extended, and you're going to feel the hip hindering and an extension right here. So a lot of the pressure you should feel is right here on this backward pointing hip. Okay, pull your belly in, and then maybe you have to lengthen the stance a little bit to get even more bend in your front knee. And keep those hips pointed forward. Pull the belly in and lift the hands up over your head if you can. Good. Breathing. Okay, so this is not an easy posture. It's pretty amazing because you think Warrior 1 be like introduction, easy posture, but it's actually a very challenging posture to get into. And if you're a beginner, it can be a little frustrating. So we like to take our time and learn how to do this posture completely, okay? So remember, you're in your footwork here, okay? You start in this position, your feet are wider than hips width. Turn this leg so that the foot's pointed outward. Back foot points at about a 45-degree angle. Now that can be tricky. Sometimes it's a closed angle, sometimes a little more of an open angle. So you have to perfect your footwork so you have the best positioning. And your heels, maybe your heels are lined up going this way. Maybe they're a little bit wider apart. That's another one where you want to optimize your body. Some people are more comfortable bringing the feet so that the heels line up and they turn over. Other folks want to keep this wider stance so they have more room for their hips to work in the position. So it's up to you to figure out what's going to work best for you, but the foundation is still true. Deep ankle flexion, knee extension, hip extension, knee flexion on the front, move forward, and then work on pulling your belly in as you lift your hands over your head. Keep the hips pointed forward, breathing. Good. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. You're going to want to get about 10 reps on that position. So give yourself a chance to practice through this rep. Okay, you can pause the video, come back to it, right? The point is get some reps in practicing this posture. Give yourself time to develop. Quick on the opposite side, you might notice one side is different than the other, and that's okay, right? It's up to you to identify some differential so you can modify your practice appropriately. Same rules apply. Front leg is pointed straight ahead with the foot. Back foot has an angular point towards the corner of the room, about 45-degree angle. Let your body weight drop into this knee. You want to keep the knee above the ankle. Now, in some cases, some people want to go a little bit too far forward. I think it's best for, especially beginners, to work with the knee over the ankle. As you progress, you'll learn new postures and increase your mobility to comfortably go knee over toe. We're going to get to that later. But to help you get started, just keep the knee over the ankle, okay? And get a nice length between the feet so that way you can maneuver your posturing. Keep the extension in the hip here. You should feel a lot of pressure here to generate this hip extension, rear hip extension. Knee is in extension, back ankle is in a deep flexion, right? So you have to make sure your ankle is able to handle that. Hips are pointed forward like the headlamps of a car. Breathe. And then maybe you get those hands over your head and pull in that belly. It's really important that you pull in the belly when you're in this position. And we all have a little belly action, right? Okay, we're getting ready for summer, okay? And this is a great opportunity for you to use your abs to help you position your hips better. When you pull the abdominal wall in here, it takes the pressure out of your lower back. Right, the mistake some people make is that they lean their back too much and they start to inflect too much into their lower back, too much pressure, and they take the onus off the hip. We don't want that. So you can open your hips and open your legs so you can get deeper into the hip flexion, or hip extension, excuse me, and then pull your belly in to enforce that weight distribution out of the back and into the hip that you want to work on here. Breathing. Get those hands overhead. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. All right. Again, make sure you get about 10 reps on each side with Warrior 1. Good. Now, let's get into Warrior 2. So Warrior 2, similar setup. You're probably going to want to have even wider setup than in Warrior 1. The reason why is it's just a longer posture. So be ready to have legs much wider than your shoulder width, like way out here maybe. So turn the front side leg so that the foot is pointed outward like that. And your back side leg, the foot is pointed perpendicular, it's going towards the camera. Okay? And now the trick here is you want to balance your weight between these two positions. And you're going to bend this knee. You're going to feel some pressure going into this bent knee in the quad and in the hamstring under there. Simultaneously, this backside leg is creating extension, so you're going to feel some energy in this hip extension and then deep in the inner thigh here so you can maintain this posture. And then you want to find your center of gravity between these 2 points. So don't make this mistake of leaning too far forward or leaning too far back. Those are different postures. Our goal here is to work on centering ourselves to create balance between the 2 regions. And as you find this posture working for you, right, your upper body is facing towards the wall in front of you, towards the camera in front of you, towards the screen in front of you. And then you open your arms apart like this. Good. Your wrists are roughly where your feet are. Right? If you drop your wrist straight down, they will be close to where your feet are. Okay? Keep strong posture, breathing in, pulling your belly. Keep that integrity. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. When you relax, you just pull this foot into that extended leg. All right? You feel that pressure relaxing. All right? And then you go back in. Inhale, exhale, and go in. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Good. So what's happening here is this leg is entering an extension through the hip, and this leg is entering flexion in the hip. Again, 2 competing movements here. When we were in 90-90, we were in one hip going into external rotation, one hip was an internal rotation. Okay? Now we have this hip entering deep flexion, this hip entering extension. Okay? So those competing forces are what makes this such a great, powerful posture for you to practice on. All right, switching sides. You want to get a good 10 reps. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that. And then we work on the other side. Okay, feel that positioning, right? You want to get yourself comfortably uncomfortable, learn the balancing between the 2 sides, right? Maybe you need to open that stance up a little more to find that balancing point. And then once you sink into that posture, back leg's extended, feel the pressure on the inner thigh, front leg is going into flexion with the hip. Gonna feel some pressure in the quad and underneath here, okay? Breathing. And arms out. Good. 10, 9, 8, 7. Pulling that belly. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull it back in. Get some air. Breathe. Get ready. Inhale. Exhale, drop in. Feel that power. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. On the way to completing 10 total reps on this. Okay. Good. Keep up the good work. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Get 10 total reps on that side, and you're on your way. All right, so now we're preparing to drop into our squat form. All right, and the way we've been guiding ourselves into this process is by warming up our knees to handle some weight distribution between left and right sides. Okay, so you see I'm leaning one side a little bit, I'm leaning to one side a little bit. We're already starting to prepare ourselves to handle variations in weight distribution between both legs. Okay, so as I'm doing that, when I lean to one side, I'm gently bending this knee, the other knee's extended. And then I switch sides, a little bit of a bend, that leg starts to extend. So maybe we widen our stance out a little bit and we point our feet outward. Okay, so they're hitting that outward angle. Maybe those feet are pointing towards the opposite corners of the room. And we're working on leaning into that one side, creating extension on that side, and then leaning into the opposite side, creating extension on that side. Before we go too far in, right, just practice going back and forth on this. It's going to be your knee warm-up in handling some weight distribution, okay? All right, you can feel the weight differential. You feel that pressure firing up in here. You want your hip working well. Your knee might be going over your toe, and you're creating extension on the backside leg to help stabilize you. And switch to the opposite side, see how it feels. Maybe the knee goes over the toe, that's okay. You have the straight leg strong to help create a counterbalance to your body as it leans over. Okay, and after you get a sufficient number of reps going back and forth, you can start to add some circular rotation to the knee. So let's get to this side first, and then try rotating gently but firmly, right? You want to be gentle. Your knee might be unaccustomed to this. Go 5 times in one direction, and switch and go 5 times in the opposite direction. Maybe get some snap, crackle, pops in there along the way. I think I got a Rice Krispies bowl smuggling in my knee sometimes. All right, so now you're learning how to create that rotational capacity reminiscent of the controlled articular rotations we practice. Right, you're tapping into that same capacity to rotate, but now you're adding a little bit more mass on top of it. Okay? Get this side going. 5 times in one direction. Feel the hip and the knee working together to facilitate this rotation. Good. And take your time to learn this, right? Maybe this is exactly where you're at as far as adapting your squat ability here. Okay? Maybe this is as far as you want to go. Because if you're experiencing a lot of pain right now, it's a signal that your brain's trying to communicate with your body to understand the stress you're under, okay? So if this is as far as you get, great, right? Identify where your endpoint of range of motion is. If it's up here, if this is as low a squat as you can handle right now, then great, right? This is where you're gonna start, okay? But now if you're ready to continue, you start getting into what I call the stairway squat, okay? For lack of a scientific term, imagine walking down the flight of steps of the Empire State Building or another large building, right? And the steps go down to one floor and then they go across the building going down to the other floor, and then they go across the building going down to the next floor, and then pretty soon it's just a diagonal downward process to the bottom. Okay? We want to replicate that in your squat. And you have to be ready for this. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. So now that you've prepped your hips, you've prepped your knees, you've dealt with how your body feels, you start to work back and forth between one side and the other, and you drop down another inch every time you rotate back and forth. Right? Find out where your zone is. Maybe it's here. Right? Maybe you're like feeling it right now, way up in your hips, way in your rear end, way in your hamstrings and your quads. Maybe if you're ready, you can get down a little bit lower. Now you gotta be careful about your foot placement. Right? You wanna make sure your feet are secured. Then maybe you can get a little bit lower as you drift back and forth. You're gonna notice your knees and your hips are gonna wanna close down at the bottom. Your feet are gonna wanna close down a little bit on the bottom. You can use your hands on the floor for a variation here. And when you put your hands on the floor, you want to make sure your feet are in position to handle the amount of flexion going on in your ankles right now. And then if you can, maybe you take your hands off the floor and put them in prayer position in the middle of your body. Take your elbows and park them on the sides of your legs by your knees and your inner thigh. And then straighten your back. Now you're in a super deep Malasana Squat. Okay, now some things to know about Malasana Squat. You want to make sure that your back stays straight. Okay, sometimes you have a tendency to slouch. Okay, you want to keep your back straight. Now, if this is not possible for you right now because you lack hip mobility, you usually take your hands and put them on the floor and let yourself lean into the posture a little bit. So that way you can use gravity to help you stretch. Over time, you'll be able to tilt your heels back into the floor, right? If you lack ankle flexion, you might be having heels lifting off the floor. You want to try to get those heels flat on the floor and then extend your spine upward as you press your elbows against your knees. Breathing. Good. And then you're ready to elevate from this position. You take the elevator to the top floor. Nice, good. That's really challenging. Okay, so that's why we practice to build ourselves up to have this capacity. It's not easy to do this stuff, but what is easy is practicing if you keep doing it, right? It becomes easier as you progress. And then you have to find a new way to challenge yourself, which, don't worry, there's new challenges ahead of you. But the first step is just learning how to navigate the process of handling weight distribution throughout your entire body, all right? We're not talking about a one-dimensional squat here. We're talking about a deep yoga squat that incorporates hip, knee, ankle capability, along with your spine and your abdominal wall to help you pull it all together. Okay, so we'll go into it one more time. Working back and forth, right? Get a little bit lower every time you reach. Right, maybe your hands come out in front of you as you start to park it low. Right, and at the very end, your feet might want to bring a little bit closer together, so be ready to navigate your feet a little bit closer together when you get to the bottom of the posture. Now you breathe, inhale, exhale, and then maybe you can do some stuff like pick one ankle up, pick up at the other ankle so you're on your toe, right? Maybe go both ankles at the same time. Now you call it a toe squat, right? Other little variations you can work on. But for the most part, you want to make sure you have a strong foundation. Back is straight, arms are in, elbows pulling in. Abdominal wall engaged, deep hip flexion, deep knee flexion, deep ankle flexion. You got this, guys. Now slow motion for me. Yes. You got this. Practice how you need to improve, okay? If you identify areas of weakness you need to focus on, work on those. If you need help, my clients know where to reach me. Come join a mobility intro if you're not a client. It'll help you like you wouldn't believe. But guys, so thank you so much. I wanted to help this video to help you master this squat routine that I've been using in my classes that really helps incorporate mobility training plus traditional yoga postures into an expanded active range of motion workout. So thank you for being a great student. And if you have any questions, just email moremobileyoga@gmail.com. Check me out on Instagram, K.JamesIRL, hashtag #moremobileyoga, hashtag anti-chair training. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much.